And I see that I have several other mayors and former mayors and council members in here. And I know you all probably know each other, but just if I could get folks to raise a hand, and if I miss anybody, yell at me, because I probably will. The face of the foothills, I always have to start with our county supervisor, Jim Holmes, in the back. And I'm just looking on the list, I'm like, okay, those are not, I got a ton of Ruhkalas, but I don't think any of those are the mayors, because I'm trying to convince a couple of them that they should be, but I haven't got them there yet. I see our former council member, Jerry Mitchell, here in the crowd. Our forever city manager, Carlos Urrutia. Scott Ewell, who I have to tell you, is Scott's idea to start this wall of recognition, so honor to Scott, thank you. I'm looking, I'm like, do I see them together? My current council member, Ken Broadway. And I know you all know Peter Hill, this is his park as well, so welcome, thank you so much, Peter. I'm looking around, did I miss anybody? You gotta watch me. Well, thank you so much for being here. This is a special place. I know for all of us that are here, this is a special place. I tell you, I know a lot of you have heard recently that Money Magazine named Rocklin one of the best cities to live in the U.S., one of the top 50, which is kind of beyond exciting, one of 2 California cities. And I did share with people the other day when someone asked me why, I tell them, well, clearly it's the mayor, but clearly it's this crowd right here. And I know you know that's really true. This is a fabulous crowd. You have done so much for our community, and I couldn't be more blessed to have you there. And to honor some really special people today. As I mentioned before, Scott, who I have to give so much credit to, had this idea that we should build a wall, and really the idea, we know we have the Ruhkala Awards that we've been doing and recognizing for many years, but he said we really want to have a wall that as a stranger walks up there, and hopefully I'm paraphrasing this correctly, looks at it and says, tell me a little bit about Rocklin. What is Rocklin and how did Rocklin get here? And hopefully you'll look at the names on that wall and you'll learn a story about the tapestry of Rocklin and how we really came this incredible community. So I won't take too much of your time this morning. We've got some great people to speak, but I want to just mention on the inductees this year. I am beyond pleased to have the original 13. I feel like that should be a movie about a fabulous 13. Our first library ladies, which were and I've shared before too, one of my favorite things that's so amazing is as I've read through some of my mother-in-law, some of Connie's books and some of her notes and her journals, you know, back then, those that knew Connie know she had this fabulous, very successful restaurant for 30 years, and she did a lot of things, but what she couldn't do was belong to the Chamber of Commerce because it was a men's organization. And so they started the chambermaids, and a lot of you know I still have the little gold chamber pot pin that they wore as the chambermaids, and they did these service organizations. And it just kills me when I think about that now. I think she would be so proud. Pardon me, she'd be so proud of where I'm standing. But I also know that they led the way for where we're at. And today I was at City Hall and I was looking out and they were talking about the building for sale. And I said, well, you know, that was the library and how beautiful it was. And look at where we're at for a library now. And it's that same group of volunteers that have said, this is really important. It's part of our community and we want to do something special. And boy, have they. And so thank you so much to the original 13 that got us started to get there. And the Johnson family, I don't even know where anybody will begin. It's an incredible story. I know that they are part of the very fabric of Rocklin, and I think we all know that too. And every person that goes to Johnson-Sppringview Park probably has no idea that we wouldn't have that incredible community resource without the Johnson family. I tell you, Danny, and I apologize, he's a little under the weather today or he'd be here, but he said he can remember so well going to the dairy or to the ranch and sitting on the porch while his dad and your dad, they were having these conversations, and that was just such a big trip to him, because that was something really fascinating, and the Johnsons were a big deal, and so it was really exciting to go visit. But I also got the opportunity to know Gene and Marge through some of our service organizations. And that's that quiet voice that when he says, we don't have the Jubilee right now, we should have a tree lighting. Well, we've got a tree lighting. And we started with, 5 of us, and thought, will anybody come? And 1,200 people the first year and 5,000 the next year. We start, and I kid you not, it was Gene up here on the roof hanging the lights, and our Charlie Brown tree that we said, well, it'll grow and people will still come. And the first stage we put on the lawn, and the girls started dancing. It kept sinking and sinking. And I had a very hard time having tree lighting leave from this area, but I also, last time the stage sunk, I kind of got it. A covered patio is nicer. But that's just the kind of energy that comes from the family, because you have a family of service. It's in their history. And so I'm really looking forward to hearing some of those stories today. But thank you all, because I know everybody here is a part of this as well. So I am going to, our Community Recognition Commission, which again is a group that Scott got started, they are here, but our chairperson is Warren Jorgensen. I'm going to invite him up, and so he can introduce you to our community chairs. Thank you.
Former mayors, ladies and gentlemen, I was asked recently by someone if I was worried that it might rain today. And I said, no, not really. I'm more worried about being out there and talking, having a train go by me for 10 minutes, making a bunch of noise. No one could hear us. And, then it turns out it rains. So this was plan B in here. But we need the rain, so no complaints. I want to start by acknowledging our Vice Mayor, Bill Cullen. Bill couldn't be here today, but he sends his best. And he was the person actually who submitted the nomination to the Community Recognition Commission for the Johnson family. I'm going to speak about here in a minute. So if you see Bill in the future, you might want to thank him for that, acknowledging for doing that, because that's helped get us here today. I also want to acknowledge my colleagues on the Community Recognition Commission and the work that all of them do to bring us to this day when we add names to the wall of recognition. I'm going to name them, ask them to stand, and then we can acknowledge them all together. But I think only one of them is here, but I'll have to check on that. So I'm going to start with Commissioner Georgetta Dolinsek, who's going to talk to you in just a minute. Christy, Michelle, or Melissa, are you here? Oh, Christy's here, very good. Christy Jewell, our vice chair, is here, very good. So I want to acknowledge Christy Jewell and Georgetta Dolinsek both for being here today and all the work they do on the CRC. And, we don't meet that frequently, but there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, and these ladies work very hard. So would you join me in acknowledging them? Michael, I missed somebody. Michelle Sutherland. I'm sorry, Michelle, I didn't see. My apologies. All right, you have a daughter on your lap, right? Yeah. All right. So Michelle's here. So Michelle, all three of you, thank you. Thank everybody for coming out today on this first day in November as we officially add the 6th and 7th names to the Wall of Recognition, established by the city in 2018, building an appreciation for its past and an education for its future, for all those that will visit it. The 2 additions today, the original 13 Friends of the Library and the Ray Johnson family, represent the best of Rocklin's history and legacy. Gene and Margaret Johnson have been great leaders of the Rocklin Historical Society, and that group was added to the wall out here just 2 years ago. The preservation of history is not only important to past generations, but it also can be to the future. History can tell us a lot about people and events that have occurred and what happened. For example, history tells us that in one of his campaigns for public office, Abraham Lincoln was called two-faced by an opponent. To which Lincoln replied, "If I was two-faced, you think I'd be wearing this one?" The house just down Rocklin Road was built in 1886, and Ray and Florence Johnson moved there in 1936 from Los Angeles. Ray served on the city council for 12 years, from 1944 to 1956, including 4 years as the mayor of Rocklin. Florence was involved as well by serving on the Rocklin School Board, and her father, Anders Wickham, served 16 years on the city council, and 6 of those years he was our mayor. In his time on the council, Ray was practical and forward-thinking. Our late city council member, Marie Houston, pointed out years ago that Ray introduced a resolution, now get this, requiring that police cars have electric windshield wipers. Also, he supported the start of commercial and residential garbage pickup services, things that we would take for granted in today's world. How do we get our house numbers and addresses? It was Ray that started those efforts as well. And it should be noted today that as a council member, Ray took the lead in supporting the prohibition of outdoor toilets. It might have been said at that time, it's a stinky job, but somebody has to do it. Ray was described as an inspirational man with a fantastic memory and a true servant of the people of Rocklin. When not serving the community in public office, Ray was a town milkman, also owned a 22-cow dairy. He was well known for giving kids rides in his milk truck and ended his career by working as a commercial dairy products distributor. In 1993, the 100th anniversary of Rocklin's incorporation, Ray and Florence both were the Grand Marshals of the Rocklin Jubilee and Parade. Raymond Henry Johnson lived to an amazing 100 years old until his passing on Thanksgiving Day, November 28, 1996. Florence survived him until October 17, 1999, and she was 98 years old. What a great legacy and a long life they both enjoyed. In 1999, the Johnson family were the first recipients of the Ruhkala Community Service Awards, an annual award given by the city honoring the contributions and the memory of Roy and Peggy Ruhkala. Now, Ray and Florence's passion for community involvement and public service was passed down and instilled in their son, Gene. I already mentioned Gene and Margaret's leadership in the Historical Society. Without their leadership and vision, the St. Mary's Chapel that we're sitting in right now probably wouldn't be here. The History Museum and the Christmas lighting festivities might not have progressed, and Gene's service in the local Kiwanis Club has impacted many. To my left, Farron Street runs right into Johnson-Sppringview Park. To my right, Rocklin Road does the same thing. And this area is now home to Springview Middle School, the dog park, tennis courts, soccer fields, Little League fields, a place for concerts, and the list can go on and on. Folks, it's no exaggeration. Thousands have benefited from Johnson-Sppringview Park. Gene Johnson worked with the city to provide the land for this park that is now enjoyed by so many. Without his efforts, Johnson-Sppringview Park might be a sea of houses with a road running right through it. Gene put the community's interest ahead of his own, and the result is right down the street. Joe Parker Whitney, one of our founding citizens, is well remembered in many ways. Whitney Boulevard, Whitney High School, Whitney Oaks Golf Course. And the Ruhkala family's name appears on this wall outside. And every year we commemorate them with those community service awards. And now it's appropriate that we add the Ray Johnson family to this historic list of Rocklin leaders, not only to celebrate today, but to etch their names into the legendary story of Rocklin, California. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the podium the son of Ray and Florence Johnson, Mr. Gene Johnson.
A bit about our family that I hope you'll be interested in. Dad, of British descent, was born in Michigan on a farm. He was charming and handsome lad, and it is said that he migrated to California to get away from pursuing women. He was not entirely successful in his invasion. By 1926, Dad and his cousin Tracy had met and married Finnish girls from Rocklin. In the Depression, Mom and Dad purchased the family dairy from Mother's father. A portion of the farm between 3rd and 5th Streets had been subdivided and added to the town of Rocklin by a previous owner. To maintain payments for the farm, the folks sold lots at a bargain price of $50 per lot. A minor land rush resulted when townspeople purchased the lots. Ultimately, 200 building lots were sold. Dad clearly loved people, and they loved him in return. He was a joiner. If there was an organization, he participated and contributed. Rotary, Oddfellows, Veterans of Foreign Wars, Scout Council, the City Council. As Rocklin's milkman, and Mom would say, dairy products distributor, Dad delivered milk to homes, stores, and restaurants. For years, milk delivery was from the front of a pickup truck, pickup truck, with crates covered with the canvas and crushed ice on top of the canvas. He employed kids to hop from the truck to customers' houses. Our instruction: place the milk on the porch in the shade. Ray's success was due to his personality, perhaps more than his product. For example, an example of customer devotion was Mary Bottomley's endorsement: "I don't care what's in it, I'm buying my milk from Ray Johnson." In the 1940s, Mom worked at McClellan Field, followed by work at the Roseville Railroad yards. Then for years she focused on the dairy products business, including washing Dad's white uniforms and ironing them with a mangle roller iron. Like Dad, she was outgoing, a member of the Mothers Club, Eastern Star, and the Rocklin School Board. Together they enjoyed square dancing with Rocklin's Dude and Dollies. Mom and Dad lived on the farm until 1996 without professional care other than periodic assistance by the Rocklin Fire Department to raise Dad from the bathtub. With the help of good friends Kathy and Joe McMahon, they moved to Oakwood and an Auburn care facility. Dad was 100, Mom was 95. Dad passed that year and Mom 3 years later. About me. Hours after birth in Sacramento, I took up residence in Rocklin, population 750. During the war years, I helped Dad straighten nails for use and helped Mom cut names from Christmas cards before resending them. The once bustling downtown on our side of the tracks consisted of empty lots, Goldsberry's feed store, Bottomley's general merchandise store, and 2 or 3 boxcars that housed railroad workers. My first essay at Roseville High School was entitled "Death of a Town," as triggered by the 1908 move of the railroad roundhouse operation from Rocklin to Roseville, followed by 40 years of limited recovery. While employed at Aerojet and living in Sacramento, I met a wonderful lady from Canada, Margaret Louise Peel. We married, moved to Rocklin, and shortly thereafter embarked on a 30-year odyssey with stops in Connecticut, New York, and Sunnyvale, California. Margaret is right here in front of us. She's the love of my life for 57 years. And she's been a perfect companion and supporter. It's just been wonderful. Now Marg also serves as my best memory and my best ears. Thank you, Marg. I love you. On retirement in 1996, we brought the family farmhouse for my mother and retired to Rocklin. Mom and Dad purchased charter memberships for us in the Rocklin Historical Society. We quickly became involved and found a wonderful family of friends. Soon after our return, we realized there was no downtown. I prepared a presentation entitled No Downtown, Downtown. We did a bit to change that, and we can allude to Warren's words for that. Our family name is etched in stone, but at least for my part, nothing would have been accomplished without the support of the community. The Historical Society and the Kiwanis Club were always there. And for example, more than 500 volunteers and donors were there for the St. Mary's Project, as were the churches, the City of Rocklin, and persons I wish were here today but are no longer with us. That would include Roy Ruhkala, Rick Forstall, Leon Shorty Vicencio, and not but last least, Keith Huseby. And the reason I delay there is Keith's perfect carpentry and painting is what made this room what it is. He was wonderful, and he was a perfectionist. I have no siblings, and Marg and I, with no children, are the end of the Rocklin Ray Johnson family. A hope that the family's legacy can live on is fulfilled by inclusion in the Rocklin Hall of Recognition. Thank you.
Commission, I'm also president of the Rocklin Friends of the Library. When I think of the 13 original Friends of the Library, I recall a famous quote from Margaret Mead. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. During the early 1970s, the support for the library was declining and the library was about to be closed. In 1976, with the determination and commitment of the 13 ladies, the idea of a larger library facility was being developed for our Rocklin community. At the time, the Rocklin Library was located in a small 800 square foot building across from the old Granite City Hall. It had a leaky roof, 4 parking spaces, and was not meeting the needs of the community. Known as the Terrible 13 because of their persistence and steadfastness of gaining a new library facility, these ladies attended Rocklin City Council and Board of Supervisor meetings, which made these ladies gain their reputation. Knowing there was city property at Johnson-Sppringview and Placer County operated the libraries, the ladies advocated for building the new library facility there. They also got a Rocklin architect to donate the plans for the building at no cost. With this all going on, Rocklin Friends of the Library became a nonprofit too. To this day, this nonprofit provides funding to the library from our book sales. The original 13 friends included Kay Baugh, Pat Binley, Stacia Carr, Louise Cullen, Mickey Davies, Sandra Davies, Jean Greene, Patty Mattfeld, Irene Rohde, Peggy Ruhkala, Mary Emily Smith, Pat Steinhauer, and Lynn Sultzer. We're fortunate today to have one of the 13 here, and this is Louise Cullen. You want to stand up for... Now for the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey would say, I would like to introduce Carol Peterson, who was in the mix of this group. Carol herself is our go-to person in the Friends who knows all the history. She has been a big part of the Friends and is appreciated for all her literacy volunteer work in our community and county. She has held every board position in the Friends and active in the Placer County Literacy Council. She is also an active member of the Rocklin Historical Society. So now Carol will give you the rest of the story.
The team provided the leadership and planning for the others, and we did what we were told. They inspired a can-do attitude, which we used for other community projects, like the museum and St. Mary's. I don't think any of us who were involved in these projects and in forming the Historical Society would have believed it was possible except for what these 13 ladies led us to do with the library. The library, in addition to what Jetta mentioned about the facility across from City Hall, it did not have handicap access, which Peter Hill, we put him in a wheelchair and told him to go check out a book. It didn't have a community room. As a matter of fact, there was no facility to have this type of a meeting in Rocklin at that time anywhere. So building the community room at the new library was really important. So in addition to forming the nonprofit, this group promoted the library in the community. They conducted a membership drive for the whole town. I walked several blocks with a membership form. For $2 you could join, and we created a list of 750 members with a population of 7,000 people. The book sale and bake sales were held in front of Safeway. Like I said, there was no other facility to do anything like that, so that was the extent of it. We had a yard sale and a catfish dinner. Now, at this point, we did have the community center building on 5th Street, and that's where we had the catfish dinner. But it had just been built. We had a lunch with the supervisors, the city council, and the newspapers, and we each sat with a table with each of those people at the table, and we just said, we need a library. We knew that this community was not always going to be 7,000 people, and they weren't always going to have to go to Roseville to the library or Auburn to the library. So Peggy Ruhkala funded the printing of the first 1,000 copies of the Davis Rocklin history book, which Duke Davis donated to us to benefit the library. The big thing was we sold bricks with your name for $100 on the wall in the community room at the 5th Street facility. And they put a thermometer and the name of the bricks purchasers on the roof of the grocery store at Pacific Street and Rockland Road. I was lucky there were several people called Peterson who brought bricks. They just put Peterson. I remember in the newspaper, Louise was there with a picture of that thermometer on the roof of the library. We were at a meeting and they said, we're gonna sell bricks. And we said, okay, we'll sell bricks. That was one of those things they didn't think they could do. People shook their head. They talk about the 13 ladies, you know, the men started, they were gonna help us do this. Well, you'll see who ended up doing it, don't you? A joint powers authority was formed to administer the contract to construct the new library. And it consisted of 2 city council members, 2 county supervisors, and Sandy Davies was our Friends of the Library member. She later became city clerk. So, as Gene said about his father and community service that carries forward, that was certainly true of these 13 ladies, as well as all the rest of us who were involved with them, who could see the result and what this library meant to our community. We could have children's story hour, and we could have all kinds of meetings. The ladies played bridge in the community room that they were not able to have a place to do that before. So our community was very fortunate to have these special 13 people. And we are very lucky that Louise was able to come today and thank Nathan for accompanying her. And she would like to come and say a few words.
Bend over 30 years that we started our terrible 13. And I was young then. I don't know what happened in 30 years. But we're still supporting and we're still enjoying our libraries. I believe we have documentation somewhere that shows that this is the first time that the state of California went together, as usual, with their county, perhaps their city, but also with the community in supporting funds toward a new library. And so we were very, very proud of that. And then even, I think we had like $38,000 or something that went toward the library. And then after it was built, we contributed another $35,000 for landscaping and furniture and things like that. So we continue to work very hard to keep going and show the support. But I think the most fun was getting the community on board with us. Now, there's hardly anyone that would not want to support a library, but we had them actively supporting the library. And we had a lot of good times with our city, Carr, she remembers, and our county at that time. We had Alex Ferreira and Mike Lee that supported our area. And we really shared a lot of positive times with them as well. So the library came into fruition. We had a wonderful groundbreaking ceremony, and we had a wonderful welcome when we finally had our building. And all the people whose names are on that wall in our first library, each one of them has a very special memory here in Rocklin. And if you ever go down there into that room, it's fun to look on the wall and see how many people you may know as well. So I believe I'm the only one of the terrible 13 that is here today. Is there anyone? I think so. We've lost 7 of our members already, so we just have 6 of us left, and we were not able to contact everyone. As time goes on, we lose track, and so I felt badly about that when we tried to get a hold of certain people, but we just couldn't do it. So here I am, anyway. So, one of the last in Rohde, that's for sure. So I want to share with you a card. It has books on the front that Georgetta, Dolinsek, your president, sent to me, and I will share a portion of it with you. I'm skipping certain parts. It says, "Dear Louise, in appreciation for your service, tenacity, and vision that led to a thriving library in Rocklin, we are grateful to you and the other 12 original friends for leading the way, and we are proud to continue your legacy of supporting a love of learning and literacy in our city. The Friends of the Library members and Rocklin community thank